Good morning, guys. Jonniebee here, advocating for mental health awareness, mental health wellness tied to education. I know I look a mess, guys. So it's early for me. I mean, it's not really early, but it's 11 o'clock. Um, so it's not really early, but I don't know. Having a mental health illness affects your sleeping patterns. So my sleeping has been, I don't even know how to explain it. You know, I come on here and I try to advocate for mental health awareness, mental health wellness tied to education. The tied to education piece is showing you guys what it's like for a person with a mental health disease to manage their life with a mental health disease. So there are a lot of things that can trigger your signs and symptoms of your mental health illness. Some days I come on here and I talk about my life experiences with dating. Like I said, in my first published book, God's Gift to You, Book One, I address the childhood trauma when it comes to men and women, such as when I talk about how I've had to fight men twice my age, twice my size, twice my strength and stamina. Because as a young girl, a lot of these adult men that were surrounding me, living in my mother's household and my mother, making poor choices. And again, a lot of those young adult men felt obligated to my body as a young girl. We are talking like 9, 10, 11, 12, resulting in me sometimes having to fight some of these men for my life. And during those fights, I took blunt force impacts to my head. Now, during this time, it didn't really affect me right away because I was like 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. My body had not yet fully grown. My brain had not yet fully developed. And these blunt force impacts to my head, it didn't affect me right away because I was still growing. And, you know, um, sometimes when you sustain injury to your body, the results of it may not show up for years to come. Anyway, so again, I talk about a lot about my interactions with men throughout my life and how it not only caused me to have a mental health illness, but how it affects my mental health illness. On top of the things I talk about as far as my interactions with men throughout my life, while all this stuff is going on, mind you, I am still trying to work. I am still trying to not just obtain a job, but keep a job. Um, I would get a job for like 2 years here, get fired. Get a job for maybe 4 years here, get fired. So the longest time that I've ever been able to hold a job was my recent job of 5 years, which eventually I got fired. How does that relate to my mental health disease? So sometimes when you are going through something in your personal life, like I've said with my dating life, sometimes my interactions with young men throughout my life can affect my mental health. It causes me to go into depression. Part of being in a state of depression, it affects your eating habits, it affects your sleeping habits, um, it affects your view on the world around you. Um, Sometimes I may have a traumatic experience because of a failed relationship, and then I have to process the time that I spent with the individual, the things that were said or done to me during that relationship, just trying to evaluate the situation, what role I played in, um, if I could have done things differently. But sometimes when it comes to people, you just don't know, because just because you are a loving and caring individual and you treat people with respect and dignity doesn't mean that people treat you with the same respect or the same dignity. And then as you go through your life as a single female and you're out in the world and you're living your life and you're being happy and you're enjoying the time you spend with your girlfriends, you guys go out to parties or concerts or functions or whatever, you're out in the world enjoying life, and you happen to meet young men who approach you, they find you attractive, they want to talk to you. And there's nothing wrong with building these friendship relationships with young men, because the world is full of both men and women, and we all interact with one another. We all try to, build friendships with both men and women. And unfortunately, sometimes you come across men, and, some men, like, the dating world is so difficult because you have people who may have had a traumatic experience through a relationship themselves. And, they're still out in the world and they're still trying to find that one. And sometimes they will find someone attractive and decide they wanna, like, get to know that person, but once they have done that, they're in a new relationship, but they're still traumatized from a previous relationship that didn't go well for them. So now they're dating women and they are still acting out on the pain that might have caused, acting out on the pain that they may be carrying from a previous relationship. Anyway, then you have people that are out here looking for opportunity. Some people, you know, um, it can be about money. Like as adults, right? We have rent to pay, we have bills to pay. And for some of us, it goes beyond rent to pay, it goes beyond bills to pay. You have adult people in their 40s and 50s, right? Riding around in Mercedes Benz, wearing all the latest Air Jordan sneakers, wearing the gold jewelry, wearing the name brand clothes like the Gucci brands. Um, so some people, right, they may have a good job, right? Like they have a good job, they make good money. But because of their lifestyle, the money that they get from their place of employment isn't enough. They overextend themselves in their finances. So you have some people that's out there looking for opportunities, looking for a come up. Um, when I talk about a relationship that I had, I've been sharing about it all over social media, where I met this young man and he was driving this really nice, pretty Mercedes Benz. And, he was a welder, he had a good job, he makes good money. But he has this style of fashion that he likes to keep up with, meaning the latest Air Jordan sneakers, gold jewelry, jewels, diamonds, whatever. Um, Everything has to be name brand. His choice in brand of clothing is Gucci. Everything has to be Gucci. Not only does he drive a nice, he always has like the top latest Mercedes Benz, okay? And when he deals with that car, like he keeps up with it. He has to have the rims, it has to have all the things that come with it, I guess you would call it pimping your ride. And this person, like, claims that he has his own money, right? And like I said, he has been a welder for the past 20, 30 years. He's been at the same company for the past 20, 30 years. So, yes, he has money. However, when I first started dating him, within the first month or two, he asked me to borrow $500. And even though I knew that was like a red flag, like, who starts dating a woman and within the first month or two of dating, they want to borrow $500? He says to me, oh, he's seen some rims that he wanted to buy for his Mercedes Benz, and you know, um, he'll pay me the money back. And when I was like, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea, he begged and pleaded, baby, please, I would do it for you. I will pay you back, blah, blah, blah. I was so uncomfortable and so confused in this situation because I had never encountered anything like this before. So I was very confused. And he was just like, baby, please, I would do it for you. I'll give it right back, blah, blah, blah. So even though I felt it was inappropriate, I ended up giving him the $500. Now, this young man at the time, right, he was living in, I gotta slow my brain down, guys. He was living in what you would call, I can't think of the word. I know the word, but unfortunately, because I have racing thoughts, sometimes the information is in there, but it's going so fast that I can't grasp it. Anyway, he lived in a very nice place in Fall River. Um, and as I'm talking, I'm still going to try to think of the word because it's important to the story. You guys have to know this. So it wasn't an apartment, it wasn't a house. Oh my God. It's like an apartment, but you own it. It's not a duplex. I don't know why my brain cannot think of this word, but anyhow. So he lived in a very nice apartment. He drove a very nice, expensive Mercedes Benz. Like I said, he dresses in all the fashionable clothes. He loves to dress. We're talking about, like I said, the latest Air Jordan sneakers. He has tons of them. He has a lot of nice gold jewelry. Um, even when he wears shoes, like he likes to go to, like he doesn't shop at like department stores or malls. Like he goes to like men's stores, like tailored-made expensive shoes and suits, and this is just what he does, right? And again, yes, he is a welder. Yes, he's been at the same job for 20 years. Yes, he makes good money, but he still goes around asking women for money. And I thought it was strange because here I am, I have an apartment, yes. I have a car, yes. But again, I struggle with maintaining work for whatever reason. I don't know if it's due to my mental health illness. I don't know if it's something about me that causes me to not get along with a lot of people, and people find it difficult to get along with me. But again, I am a loving and caring person. I have a lot of education. I have common sense. I have morals and principles. I do know how to communicate with people in a respectful way. Now, I might seem like I come off a little rough around the edges because what people don't know is that in my personal life, I go through so much that with all the things that go on in my personal life, every morning I still have to wake up with a smile on my face and spend 7 to 8 hours at work managing my own mental health illness, as far as avoiding being triggered, as far as the signs and symptoms of my mental health illness, such as being triggered and having an anxiety attack or a panic attack. Um, I go to work every day, for the past 10 years that I've been dealing with this person off and on over the past 10 years who has been causing me so much harm. I still, even through being depressed behind this relationship, I would still have to get up and go to work every day, even though I was falling apart. And then at work, there are so many people and different personalities that you're trying to manage at work. That again, when you're dealing with a bunch of people and you're dealing with a bunch of personalities, not everybody's always going to get along. Um, there are some people at work that you have to deal with that, you know, they can have strong personalities as well because you may have a strong personality and you are clashing with someone else because that person has a strong personality. It tends to get messy, and for some reason I'm always the one that gets fired. Usually they say it's not what you say, it's how you said it. Well, how do you say certain things? Like, if you're struggling with a coworker and this coworker is saying things to you and doing things to you and triggering your signs and symptoms of your mental health disease, um, and even when coworkers go to management to tell management about something you said or something you did, it boils down to a bunch of he said, she said. Like the managers were not there. They did not witness the interaction between you and the individual. So now they're trying to figure out who's telling the truth. Like it just gets so crazy, right? I've encountered situations where I had a coworker totally spaz out on me, right, in front of management, and management called me out, even though the manager was sitting right there and seeing the entire thing from beginning to end. Um, I was the one that got called out. Like, are you kidding me? Like, this lady just spazzed out on me because I said one simple word, which was no. And the coworker, like, spazzed out on me. The manager was sitting right there. She did not call out the girl who spazzed out on me. She called me out. Anyway, like I said, it all tends down to a bunch of he said, different perspective, different personalities. And for me, a person with a mental health illness, it gets overwhelming. It gets overwhelming. So after spending 7 hours at work, trying to keep a smile on my face while I am in pain because I am dealing with a toxic, abusive relationship, now I go to work and deal with all these different personalities that it's not always me. I'm not the one that's always in the wrong. There are other people at work that need to be held accountable for their stuff, their attitudes, the things that they say. Um, it's just a lot going on at work when you're dealing with both men and women and all these different personalities. First, you have the pressure of the job itself because the job can be so demanding. Um, you have to be able to do 5 things at one time in as little time as possible with little to no errors. And this is all day, every day. Like, first of all, people don't know this, but we as humans, we are not designed to multitask. We are not designed to do 2, 3, 4, 5 things all at one time in a short period of time with little to no errors. And you may do it well for 4 years, and then the 5th year comes and something happens at work and they write you up. They write you up. They continue to write you up for one reason or another. Doesn't matter if it's something you did or something you said. Um, and they continue to write you up until eventually they fire you. And at certain jobs, right, when you have different people from different backgrounds, from different cultures, we all talk different. We all act different. Um, I when I tend to talk, as you see, my head moves. So I've been told from this last employer, like they try to tell me how to communicate, you know, what's appropriate to say, what's appropriate not to say. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. When you tend to talk, your head moves. It's like you have an attitude. Like it was just so much. Like, you have this company that's trying to tell you how to talk, how to walk. They even tell you how to stand, because if you stand like this, it seems like you are disengaged. When really, when I stand like this, it's because I'm overwhelmed and I'm trying to contain my feelings and my emotions and how I respond to the things that are taking place right now. I get overwhelmed. I tend to cross my arms like this to contain myself. But some people look at it as you being disengaged. Some people will judge who you are based on how you communicate, how you move your head, how you stand. It gets overwhelming. So you are trying to be this person that this company wants you to be. They tell you how to stand, they tell you how to walk, they tell you like your body movements. It's just so much and it's also overwhelming. So not only are you going through your personal life and having these experiences, going out in the world, going to a function, a gathering, to be with friends, to enjoy life, bumping into people who may not have intentionally caused you harm, but they end up causing you harm. Again, back to this person that I was talking about, right? So he drove a better car than mine. He lived in a better apartment than mine. He wore better clothing than I do. He wore like really big, expensive jewelry, gold, diamonds, whatever. Um, you know, Again, this person, right? You're a welder. You've been at the same company for 20 plus years, right? You make good money, but then you are meeting women who have less than you have, and you're getting into relationships with these women and asking to borrow money from them, money that they don't even have. Like, I have my own rent to pay. I have my own car insurance to pay. I have to buy my own clothes, my own food, my own shelter. I don't buy expensive things the way you do, such as, I have a car. It's a nice car. It's cute, but it's not a Mercedes. I wear nice clothes. I have gold jewelry. However, I don't get into relationships with men and start asking to borrow money from these people. So even though he's going around acting like he's all that, right? He makes good money, he has a good reputation, blah blah blah. But however, my experience with this young man, right? And within the first month or two, when he asked to borrow the $500, and I knew it was a red flag, I knew it was not normal for some man to start dating a woman and within the first month or two, ask her to borrow. We're not talking 40, 50, 60, 80, 100, 200, $300. We're talking $500 for some freaking rims for your car. So, anywho, he talked a good game, he talked so fast, begged, pleaded, "Oh, I would do it for you. Imma pay you back, blah, blah, blah." He pressured me and I gave him the money. He said he would pay me back. Tell me why his way of paying me back. First of all, it took him some time to pay me back. I'm talking months. And then when he finally did pay me back, it was, I think he gave me like 200. First, he gave me like 200. Then he gave me like 150. Like, you are a welder. You have been at the same company for more than 20 years. You make good money, so you say. But your lifestyle obviously extends your income. You gotta have the, like, latest, fanciest Mercedes Benz. You gotta dress up the Mercedes Benz with all these pretty lights and rims and expensive rims, Lorenzos. Those are the rims that he buys or wears or whatever on his Mercedes Benz. You have all this income, but you're still asking women you date to, quote, unquote, "borrow money." So, anyhow, so I loaned him the $500, right? After 3 months of dating, he ghosted me. He went back to his previous relationship that he had been off and on with for 18 years, and the reason why that relationship kept failing was because the girl that he was with at the time, she was in active addiction and she couldn't stay clean. He, on the other hand, was in recovery and had a lot of years clean. So, he supposedly loved this woman, right? Like, this woman, she had some children by another man that when they met, these children were young, and he stepped in and raised this woman's children throughout the years. And he has even found himself alone with those children because this woman who was in active addiction would take off and leave the children with him. Like, he spent 18 years of his life trying to be in a relationship with this woman that for whatever reason kept relapsing, kept using, leaving her children with him. Like, it was just a crazy relationship that he had gone through for 18 years, right? Also, this woman, right? She has a mental health disease. She is on Social Security disability. So he was getting money from that relationship. This man who is a welder and has worked at the same company for more than 20 years, right? Like, yes, you make good money, but you overextend yourself buying all these the latest Air Jordan sneakers, the Gucci clothing, the belt, the shirt, the hat, Gucci glasses, gold jewelry. Like, you overextend yourself in your finances trying to dress up the outside, right? So he also does not live alone. He has this lady's oldest son that he has raised and considers to be his son. He's raised this boy since this boy has been in diapers, right? The boy is now an adult and still lives in his home, right? So you mean to tell me that you have a good job, you're a welder, you've been at the same company for many years, you're dating a girl who's in and out of active addiction, who lives in your home, who I'm sure helps pay some of the rent and bills out of her Social Security disability money. You get money from her, but you struggle with the relationship because she can't stay clean, right? And Imma tell you how what I figured out, right? So, everybody looked at his relationship with this other woman that he's been off and on with for 18 years as the woman who couldn't stay clean, right? But Imma tell you, my experience in dating him over the past 10 years, right? I understand why this woman couldn't stay clean, because if he treated her the way he treated me, like, thank God I was strong enough to keep my clean time. Thank God. This man played with me emotionally, mentally, continuously lied, cheated. Um, One minute he was with me, he was in love, he's calling me, he's dating me, he's doing all the right things. The next minute he would ghost me, he's not calling me, he's not returning my calls. Um, in the times that he would ghost me, he'd be off with another woman. And every time that relationship didn't work out, he'd find his way back to me. And I would take him back every time. So, anywho, when I talk about his relationship with this other woman that he's been off and on with for 18 years, the one who couldn't stay clean, I realized that if he has treated her throughout the years the way he treated me throughout the years I spent with him, now I understand why this woman couldn't stay clean. This man constantly lies, cheats, manipulates. They have this thing called love bomb, or another girlfriend of mine told me that he mind effed me because when we were together, he was so great, like so attentive, so loving, so caring. However, when he would ghost me, like it did something to me. Like I couldn't understand how a man could approach you, find you attractive, want to talk to you, ask you for your number, you exchange numbers, you start dating, he's calling you every day, he's in your life, you're going out places, you're dating, you're spending time at his house. Like everything seemed great. And then after 3 months, he didn't even come back to tell me that he thought he might go back to work things out with his girl. He just ghosted me. And when I first met him and we first started dating, because I was new to Rhode Island, I didn't grow up here. I don't know anybody's past. I don't know anybody's history. I don't know any of these people. I relocated to Rhode Island. I started building friendships in the community, getting to know people. So when he approached me and asked me for my number and we started dating, I went back to some friends that I had made along the way to ask them, have they ever heard of this man? And when I did, their responses were that he was already in an off and on relationship for 18 years. They said that they don't think that he loved this woman, that he felt obligated to this woman. They cautioned me, and the thing is, because a lot of these people were friends with this woman. They had relationships with this woman. So sometimes, like when people are friends with a woman and they know that there's a new woman that could be coming into play, sometimes people just don't want the new girl with the man because they're friends with the old girl, and they're trying to help them stay together. However, when these people told me this information, I was very confused. Like, I knew that it was like, do I believe these people and what they're saying to me about this man? Um, Again, sometimes people, because they're friends with the previous woman, they just don't want you with that person because they're trying to keep the woman with her man. Anyhow, I go to the man and I tell him what people have been coming back saying to me about him, and he didn't deny it. He admitted that he was in this relationship with this woman off and on for 18 years, while the woman continued to go in and out of the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous and couldn't stay clean. And the woman had put him through so much, and he was tired, and he just wanted to move on, and he just wanted to be happy. So, of course, I took him for face value. I believed what he said to me. For the 3 months we were dating, everything was great. There were no red flags. Everything seemed fine. After all that, after 3 months of dating, he ghosted me. He stopped calling me, stopped picking up the phone when I would call him, stopped returning my messages when I would leave him messages, right? And I was so confused. I didn't know what was going on. Like, why is this man who approached me, started talking to me, found me interesting, asked to exchange numbers, courted me, dated me, like, I spent nights at his house, we would go out, and now all of a sudden, he's not calling me anymore. He's not answering my phone calls. He's not returning my messages. Mind you, he still has my $500 that I loaned him. He hasn't paid me my $500 back yet, but I wasn't even thinking about the money. I was just more concerned, like, what happened? Where did he go? Like, did I do something wrong? Like, everything seemed great. So anyway, one night, like, this goes on. I'm calling him. He's not calling me back. I'm trying to figure out what happened, blah, blah, blah. Life goes on. I go to a party one day, and as I pull up in the parking lot, some of my friends who were at that party met me in the parking lot at my car and was asking me, "Am I okay?" And I thought, how strange, like, why are my friends coming up to my car and asking me, "Am I okay?" Like, why wouldn't I be okay? I park my car, I get out my car, I walk into the party. This man is at this party with this woman he's been off and on with for 18 years. Now it makes sense to me. Now I know why some of my friends are running out to my car and asking me, "Am I okay?" Guess the joke was on me, right? So I go into the party and I see him there with this woman he's been off and on with for 18 years, right? And I was confused, I was hurt, I was angry, but I had to stuff all those feelings, right? And put a smile on my face and pretend to enjoy the party. I didn't leave. I knew if I had left, people would know that there was something wrong, and I didn't want the world to know. So I stayed at the party, I smiled, I danced. Well, at this party, right, I realized this young man, like, yes, he would interact with this girl, right? But they never really was like together. Like, he would be off with his friends doing his thing, and she would be like on the dance floor by herself dancing. There was a time when I went outside for some air, and the two of them were out there, and he was just looking at her. I guess she was having a conversation with him, and he was just looking at her like it was weird, whatever. So when I couldn't take it anymore and I couldn't contain my anger and my hurt, I decided to leave the party. I get in my car, I drive home, and I'm confused and I'm angry and I'm hurt and I feel betrayed. I don't know. It was like so many feelings and so many emotions going on. And the fact that this guy had borrowed $500 from me and now he ghosted me to go back to his previous relationship, which he told me he was done with that relationship. He was tired. He just wanted to be happy, blah, blah, blah. So I go home and I don't get out my car. I sit in my car and all kinds of things are going through my head. And my heart is heavy. My chest is heavy. I can't breathe. So, of course, I start crying because I am overwhelmed. I am confused. I don't know what the heck is going on. I do know that this man still has my $500, which he asked me to borrow so that he could buy some new rims for his Mercedes, right? So yeah, I against my better judgment loaned him the $500. So now I'm thinking this man has my $500 in his pocket, which he claimed he needed to buy some rims for his Mercedes Benz. But now he has another woman sitting in that car, riding her around in that car with my $500 in his pocket. You know what I'm thinking? I'm about to go back to that party and set that Mercedes Benz on fire. That's how angry I was. All I kept seeing in my head was visions of me setting that Mercedes Benz on fire. Don't judge me. TLC, didn't she set her boyfriend's house on fire? This is what happens when men play games with women, playing with our minds, playing with our feelings, playing with our emotions, toying with us. We are 40, 50, 60 years old. Really? Really? So, anywho, a male friend of mine who was at that party, who knows me and this gentleman and knew that we were dating and knew what was going on, I guess he knew that I was going to need help. So he followed me home. He pulls up on me. I'm sitting in my car, bawling my eyes out, having visions of me going back there and setting this person's car on fire. He pulls up. He's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'll be right back." That's what I said to him. "I'll be right back." He knew. He begged and pleaded for me not to go and not to do it. And all I kept telling him was, "I'll be right back." This young man, he begged, he pleaded with me. He said, "Just sit here with me, just talk to me." That man saved my life that day. And I'm going to tell you, I am not a violent person. I, in my adult years, have never been arrested, have never served time in jail, even with a mental health disease, have never been in a mental health institution. But I'm going to tell you, it was a normal reaction to what this man had done to me. And it didn't stop there. Eventually, I got over it. I fell into a deep depression. I cried a lot. I couldn't stay awake. I didn't want to be awake in my reality. And because I'm in recovery, drinking alcohol or smoking pot to escape the pain was not an option. I was embarrassed. I was humiliated. And this person just stood in my face, went on with his day like none of it mattered to him. He laughed. He enjoyed his life at the party with his girl. Hmm. Anywho, so now I am sleeping a lot. I am crying a lot. I am having nightmares. I can't eat. It was bad. And I still had to get up every morning to go to work with a smile on my face, even though I probably was up half the night crying. I couldn't sleep because I was having nightmares. Anywho, I had a male friend that I started like spending time with, like this male friend of mine who knew this person. Like people here in Rhode Island, they know him. They know what he does. And they don't say anything to him because one, it's none of their business. Two, they don't want to end up in confrontation with this person. Three, this person has a long history here. He has long established friendships here with people who know his battles, who know his struggles with his 18-year relationship, people that are connected to both him and her. And yes, they tried to warn me, and I didn't listen because I chose to listen to him. I took him at face value. I took his word about him just wanting to move on, just wanting to be happy and being tired of that relationship. And mind you, he still has my $500, right? But he's not taking my calls. He's not returning my calls. Like he just went back to his girl and forgot all about me. He didn't give a shit. So anyway, another male friend of mine, I started spending time with him. Like I said, he knew of the situation. He knew about this man. He knows this man's reputation when it comes to the women. They all know, but they don't say anything to him. One, because it's none of their business. Two, because they don't want to get into a confrontation with this man about how he treats his women. It's none of their business, right? So they continue to smile in his face. They continue to support him, to love him, to care for him, to be his friend, whatever. So as time went on, I went on with my life. I got over it. Tell me why. Again, that 18-year relationship he went back to didn't work out again. So again, he found himself without his 18-year relationship again. As time went on, we ended up back together. I tried to get past the things that had already taken place between me and this man. Um, I wanted my $500. So over time, now only because we are dating again, he's calling me, he's back in my life, he's doing all the right things, we're dating, we're spending time together. Um, the way he decided to pay me back my $500, he didn't give me the whole $500 up front the way I gave it to him. First, he gave me like $200. This man who's a welder, who makes all this money, right? You got your own money, right? That's what you tell me. You got your own money, right? So first he pays me $200. Couple weeks goes by. He gives me $150. This man who's got all this money, right? You riding around in Mercedes Benz and dressing up your Mercedes Benz with the fancy tires and the fancy lights, and you wearing all these Gucci outfits and gold jewelry, and you got this reputation around here, right? Anyhow, time goes on, we're back together, we're dating. I go to another function one night, and he's there with another girl. Not the one he's been off and on with for 18 years. This is a new girl. When I approach him, he tells me that's his man's wife. And I thought, how strange. Like, why are you at a party with your man's wife? Where's your man? He said his man got caught up working and was on his way and just wanted him to keep his wife company until he got there. The night goes on. The girl is following him around. I'm off doing my own thing. I'm watching him walk around this function with this girl, right? After a while, they decide to leave the party. Him and his girl are leaving together. They walk out to the parking lot. I go after him. I want an explanation. I want to know what's going on. He kept saying, I'm here by myself. I'm here by myself. I'm here by myself. You're here by yourself, but there's this woman who is following you around who you tell me is your man's wife. Now you guys are leaving. I'm in the parking lot. They're leaving together. I kept asking him, what's going on? Who is this lady? What are you doing? You kept lying. You kept manipulating the situation. So, of course, I go to approach the girl. I wasn't going to fight. Like I said, since I've been an adult, I have never been arrested. I have never been to jail. I am not a violent person. I don't go around putting my hands on people. But I just assume that when people are in their 40s and 50s, that we have grown and matured enough to be able to have conversations with one another. And since I knew he would not tell me the truth, and I really wanted to know what was going on because you're sitting here telling me that that's your man's girl, you're at the party by yourself, we're still in a relationship. You've been calling me, we've been hanging out, like we've been being intimate, and you show up at a party with your man's wife and expect me to believe that. Okay. As I go to approach the girl, he jumps in front of me to block me from getting to the girl. We are face to face to the point our nose tips were touching. We were toe to toe. We were like this. He was stopping me from approaching the girl to question the girl. He kept saying, I'm here by myself. This is my man's wife. I'm here by myself. This is my man's wife. So the two of them get in his car. She sits in the front seat with him. His boy sits in the back seat. Because did I mention he was there with his boy, his sidekick? So you mean to tell me that's your man's wife? You told me your man got caught at work and was on his way, and you was just keeping his wife company until he got there, but he never showed up. And now that you guys are leaving, your boy gets in the back seat and your man's wife gets in the front seat next to you. Okay. They leave. 5 minutes later, I call him. He doesn't answer the phone. 10 minutes later, I call him. He picks up. He picks up. I am confused. I am hurt. Like I just could not wrap my head around the situation. Again, he's still lying to me. He's still lying to me. Okay, fine. Whatever. Time goes on. We're still doing our thing. One day he calls me and tells me about a party or a function in Mansfield, Mass. He asks me, am I going? I had already gone through so much in this world and in this life that sometimes I feel sad. It affects my mood. It affects the choices I make. Anyhow, when he called me to tell me about this function in Mansfield and asked me, was I going? I said, I don't know. We'll see how I feel. An hour or two later, I found out a couple of my girlfriends were going out there. So I figured, great, I'll ride with them. I'll go with them. So I call him and tell him that, yeah, I'm going to come. Tell me why when I get there, he's there with the same girl, his man's wife. I am confused. I am just like, what the fuck is happening right now, right? The girl, right, was never really beside him. Like he would be up and moving through the party and she would be following behind him. So when he was being still, I approached him. This is my man. We're in a relationship. We've been dating off and on. Like we've been dating. So I go to give him a hug and a kiss, right? And as I gave him the hug and the kiss, I looked back at the girl's face because I knew her face would tell me what I needed to know. He let me hug and kiss him right in front of her. And she had a look on her face of confusion like, why is this woman hugging and kissing my man? He didn't know that I did it on purpose because I wanted to see her face, because he continued to lie and manipulate. And I knew the only way I was going to get the answers that I needed would come from her. Anywho, I decided that I was going to wait because I knew before the night was out, this woman would have had to have gone to the bathroom. And since I couldn't get the truth from him, I waited for her to go in the bathroom. I stood outside the bathroom and waited for her to come out. And I said, "Excuse me, you know Lorenzo?" She told me the truth. She and I sat there exchanging, like both our phones, comparing text messages that he would send to both her and I throughout the day. The same thing he would text her, he would text me, "Good morning, babe." She and I stood there comparing text messages from this individual. So I told her that she and I need to approach him and confront him together. Because I knew that one, if we didn't do it together, individually, he would continue to lie to me. He would continue to lie to her. But if we approached them together, he couldn't deny. Do you know when he seen us together approaching him, he took off running? Pew, pew, pew. Like he was just all over the party. All over the party. It when I tried to approach him, he'll be like, "I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I'll be right back." Are you fucking shitting me right now? The girl, I guess, was going through her feelings. She went back to her hotel room. I decided I'm going to leave the function. Do you know when I left the function, he called me and was like, "Where are you?" And I'm bawling my eyes out. I'm like, "I'm leaving." He was like, "Oh, just come back to the function, just enjoy yourself." How the fuck can I come back to the function and just enjoy myself after what just happened? He kept telling me, "It's not what I think it is. Baby, just come back to the party. Baby, just come, enjoy yourself, blah, 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 whatever." I decide to go back to the party. He still avoided me at the party, even though he called me and begged me to come back. Denied, denied, denied. I go back to the party and he can't even sit still. He is on the dance floor looking at me, dancing and laughing and clowning like the shit was funny. And I just looked at him, confused, disgusted, hurt. Like, who the fuck does this? Who does this shit? Whatever. Tell me why, after a few months, that woman died of cancer. She died of cancer. And after some time, guess who we ended up back with? And you people can judge me all you want and say, "Why did you keep going back? You've seen the red flags, blah, blah, blah." I'm going to tell you why. A lot of people are still in long-term relationships and married to the same person who has hurt you. A lot of you guys are in marriages where you experience one partner cheating on the other, but you stayed to save your marriage because you're in love. And I know that there's a lot more involved when it comes to the marriage. Like some people stay just because to divide the finances and the material things. Like we all justify and rationalize why we stay when somebody has hurt us. So don't judge me. Anyway, while all this is going on, I'm still trying to go to work, keep a smile on my face, not let the world around me see that I was hurt, I was confused, like, I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what was happening. I think that our bodies start to react to things, right? I mean, like I said, throughout this on again, off again 10-year relationship, there were times I was in very heavy depression. I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping. Um, I don't even know what state of mind I was in during that time. Like I couldn't see past this man and what he was doing to me. I just I don't know what happened. Maybe I loved him. You know, there were times I would say to him that I'm just waiting to see the good in you. Like I wanted to believe that there was something good in this person, that he could not be this horrible. And then when I would go out in public and have to face my friends, his friends, because we all knew each other, we all would end up at the same parties, the same concerts. I have pictures of him and his partner's wife. I was friends or whatever with his partner's wife. Like that was his man. They were always together. His man is married. I have pictures of groups of us together. Like this was my life. Anywho, while all this is going on, right? There were times when I would have a job and I would lose a job. In between jobs, drawing unemployment. And as we guys know, unemployment does not give you your full income. It gives you what, like a third of your income, right? So when you lose your job and you have an apartment and you're paying market price rent, right? Now you are trying to take what little income you get from unemployment to cover this market price rent, to continue to pay your light bill, your gas bill, your cable bill, your car insurance. And now that you've lost the job, you don't have health coverage. So while you are struggling mentally, you are now filling out paperwork for free care, which can be very overwhelming and very stressful. Some of us can't do it. It causes us to feel overwhelmed. However, every time you have a mental health crisis, like there were times I would lay in my bed at night and I would have an anxiety attack, like the shortness of breath, the tightness in my chest. I can't breathe. At one point, I even would feel like there was pain shooting down my arm, signs of a heart attack. Without no medical coverage, I would run to the emergency room thinking I was having a heart attack for them to tell me that I was having an anxiety attack. And because I had no medical coverage, I went into medical debt, having anxiety attacks, thinking I'm having a heart attack, running to the emergency room, running up medical bills that I can't afford to pay. medical debt. Eventually, when I fell behind in my rent because the unemployment was just not cutting it, um, mentally, I was not fit to just get another job because there was so much going on that eventually I lost my apartment. Lost my apartment, ended up homeless, had to go into a shelter. I have never been homeless until I moved here to Rhode Island. I have never had to go into a shelter before I moved here to Rhode Island. So going into a shelter in your mid-30s was devastating, quite devastating. And when I lived in the shelter, right, because I am educated, because I am a smart girl, the shelter was charging me $500 a month to live in the shelter. $500 a month to live in the shelter. So even though I lived in a shelter, I continued to find jobs. I continued to go to work. So the shelter charged me $500 a month to live there. That's crazy. Life is just crazy. While all this is going on, you're trying to look like you have it all together on the outside because you have adult children and you don't want the adult children to know what you're going through. You don't want the adult children to see how confused and how hurt because as a mom, you still want to protect your children. And society seems to have conformed to thinking that this shit is normal. Everybody goes through it. It happens to all of us. Bullshit. Bullshit. Up until I moved to Rhode Island, I've never met an individual like that one. I have never had anybody do such fucking horrible things to me. Mind fuck me, tell me you love me, borrow money from me, bounce around from one woman to the next while you're still telling me you fucking love me. Bullshit. And the friends who smile in his face every day and continue to love him and support him. And I get like when we have friends, right? We're friends through good and bad. You know, we don't have control over what other people do. But at what point does somebody tell this motherfucker to stop? And then, right, you're supposed to still show up around these group of people and smile and pretend like it's okay. This is some bullshit. It's bullshit. And it's not, again, just about the relationship. Like I said, it's about how it affected me mentally and physically. Depressed, hair falling out, teeth falling out, losing jobs because I go to work every day trying to put a smile on my face and act like it's okay when it's not. Or how about having a 401k you work so hard for, but now you got to empty the bitch out because unemployment's not enough. You're not mentally fit to fucking work. And you don't want to risk losing your apartment again because you still have market price rent to pay. And you don't want to be homeless again. So you can't keep a job. The unemployment's not cutting the market price rent and the gas bill, fucking car insurance. You got to eat every day. Like the unemployment is not enough. and I refuse to go homeless again. So what choice do I have but empty out my 401k? This is fucking life. And it happens all the time, and it doesn't change, and it doesn't stop. This is a person with a fucking mental health disease. This is what we go through on a regular basis, all the time, all day, every day, my entire fucking life. This shit has not improved. It has not improved. It doesn't change. The face has changed throughout the years. There's a lot of people in this world, like I said, are in and out of relationships due to opportunities, due to, they can't sit still with one person. Some of us, we can't communicate. Every time something goes wrong in a relationship, we want to run, jump into the next relationship, realize we messed up. Now we want to go back to the first relationship that didn't work out because we didn't know how to sit still. I am a rational person. I know how to communicate with my words. I know how to control my emotions. I know how to talk to someone and have a conversation with someone, even when I'm angry. I can process information. I can think clearly. I can speak clearly. But for some people, right? Some people do some fucked up shit to you, right? And they don't really want to leave you, but they just don't want to deal with the consequences. They don't want to hear your mouth. So they'll fucking avoid you for some time until they think you got over the shit that they did to you. And then they'll call you like nothing happened. And some men, when you start talking about it, they don't want to fucking hear it. They don't want to hear it. So you mean to tell me we're supposed to just pick up where we left off without, first of all, acknowledging the harm that you caused? They don't say sorry. In fact, he tells me he ain't never did nothing to me. And it gets worse. It gets worse. It gets worse. And he is just one of fucking millions of people out there. Matter of fact, the last girl he left me for, while I was living in his home, he started seeing another woman while I was living in his home. And I put the text messages up on social media of the interactions between me and this woman because even though he lied to me and told me he was not seeing this woman, she confirmed to me and even posted the date of when she met him and started sleeping with him. I was still living in his house at that time. We were in a relationship. And I'm going to tell you, when I'm in a relationship, I don't lie. I don't cheat. I'm a good, loving, caring person. Sometimes I may challenge people to do better, or when you're with someone, you're supposed to grow together. You're supposed to accumulate some stuff over the years. And this individual, I guess he didn't want to give up his home. He didn't want to give up his life situation. He just wanted me to move in with him and continue to live the way we were living. And it wasn't a good fit. And I started talking to him about making some changes. He got bumped into feelings. He got scared. He said I was being controlling. How am I being controlling? Because I moved into your house, which is a two-bedroom apartment, which you and your son live in, and there is no room in your room for any of my clothes. I'm your girl. We've been dating off and on for the past 10 years. I am now living in your home. There is no room in your closet. There is no room in your drawers for any of my things. So I started talking about us moving to a bigger place. He said I was being controlling. I was being controlling. Why? Because I suggested that we moved to a bigger place. There's 3 of us now. All your clothes are hanging up in your closets and in your drawers, and my stuff is in boxes in the basement. Every night that I go to lay out my clothes for work the next day, I have to go down 3 flights of stairs to the basement, go through my boxes, go through my clothes to pick out what I was gonna wear the next day, bring them upstairs to his room, and this was every day. So if we're in love and we're together and we're living together, like, eventually, we need to move to a bigger place. But he took it as I was being controlling, and he couldn't deal. So he went out and started dating someone else while I was living with him. Like, we talked about me moving out. You didn't want me to leave, but I was being controlling and you couldn't deal with it. So you started dating someone else while I was living in your house. You didn't want me to leave. You really didn't want me to stay because I was being controlling, because I was talking about our future together and what we needed to do so that we could all live comfortably. And you took it as I was being controlling. So you started dating someone else while I was living in your house. You really didn't want me to leave, but you were uncomfortable with me living there because I was talking about making changes. And you took it as I was being controlling. I don't know. I'm talking about relationships causing you trauma, causing you trauma. And how this stuff happens all the time, and society seems to have normalized it. And like I said, that's just the relationship part. It's not work, it's not finances. You know, right now I'm in between jobs. I have market price rent to pay. I have no medical coverage. The money that I get from unemployment, right? I have to pay rent, I have to pay my cable bill, I have to pay my light and gas bill, I have to pay my phone bill, I have to pay my car insurance. You think unemployment is going to cover all that? So while yes, I can apply for Obamacare, whatever, I actually seen this thing, healthcare.gov, where I could probably get healthcare for like $35 a month. But again, on unemployment, by the time I pay my rent, cable bill, gas bill, phone bill, car insurance, I really don't have much left. I still have to eat every day. I still have to put gas in the car. I think eventually the sticker on my car, my inspection sticker, is going to expire. So I'm going to have to pay, what is it, like $35, $40 to get a new inspection sticker to get your car inspected. And that's if the car passes. If it doesn't pass for whatever reason, it's going to cost me money to fix whatever. And I know I'm just jumping ahead, but I'm telling you guys, this I go through this all the time. I go through this all the time. It is not easy. And now again, I'm thinking about going and emptying out my 401k because by the time I lost my job, from the time it took me to actually get the unemployment money, I've had to borrow money from people just to make it happen. And then when I got my first unemployment check, which was a little over $1,000, now it's the first of the month. My rent's due $950. Do I pay my rent or do I pay back the people I borrowed money from all this time, from the time they fired me to the time my unemployment check came? Now I have to make a choice. Do I pay back the money I borrowed or do I pay my rent? I decide to pay my rent. Now, the people I borrowed money from are like, hey, when are you going to pay us our money back? And I decided to, rather than collect the unemployment money and not pay taxes on it, I didn't want to get hit at the end of the year with owing taxes. So I chose to have them take the tax money off the top of my employment checks that I get every week. So although they say I get this much, by the time they take taxes out, I don't get that much. It's less than that. Now I get a certain amount of money every week, 4 weeks out of the month. Cable bills due, light and gas bill is due, car insurance, phone bill. By the time I pay all that, it's a new month. I need to pay rent. So now I got to figure out how to get the money for the rent. And I still owe people money that I borrowed from the time I got fired to the time that my unemployment came through. So now I have to weigh my options. What do I do? I'm drowning. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to hit that 401k up. I have no choice. And this has been my entire life. I've never been able to get ahead. I've never been able to have anything. I've never been able to accumulate anything. And anything I ever did get was just like that fallback shit for when something happens, because something happens all the time. That's my life. So when people talk about how negative I be talking, when people say, "Oh, she must be off her meds again." This is the stuff that people say to me, as if I'm not hurt enough, as if I'm not injured enough, as if society has not caused me enough fucking pain. My negative perspective in life is because life has been nothing but negative. And for people to say, "Oh, I must be off my meds again." Why? Because I am talking about my life experiences. I am talking about what I go through every day on a regular basis from the time I was born up until my current years. Why? Because I have ideas, I have opinions, I have different perspectives. I don't just take information that people circulate for what it is. I'm going to question the information. I'm going to challenge the information. I'm going to share my perspective. And it's not always negative stuff. It's not always negative stuff. Again, I have ideas. I have knowledge, I have wisdom. You don't get to live 50 something years and not have knowledge and wisdom. I have common sense. I have a brain that can think, that can wonder, that can question. Like I am freaking human. And people's response to me is, I am being negative. I must be off my meds. Well, shame on you. How about that? Shame on you. And I'm not sad all the time. There are a wide range of emotions that I experience. Yes, some days I'm sad. Yes, some days I'm angry, which is a natural response to this bullshit that goes on every day. But there are some nights you might see me at a club with a friend enjoying my life. There are some days I don't post on social media that I am with my daughter and my grandson, either having dinner or like we went to New York. We went for a trip to New York. We spent the weekend in New York, which was great. Like I am not always sad. I am not always angry. Like I said, there are a wide range of emotions. There's joy, there's happiness, there's grief, there's sorrow. No one walks around in one emotion all day, every day. And as far as being off my meds, right? Some of you people out there smoking pot and drinking alcohol to deal with day to day life stresses, not realizing that smoking pot and drinking alcohol is a drug. Been there, did that. So when people tell me that I'm off my meds, when's the last time you smoked what do you call it, a blunt? When's the last time you took a drink of alcohol? Maybe you're off your fucking meds. How about that? Because while I take mental health meds prescribed to me by a doctor's office, right? You guys are out there self-medicating with street drugs. But I'm the crazy one. I'm the one that's off my meds. How about that? Do I get angry? Absolutely, I get angry because you guys are, conforming to the most ridiculous shit in this life. And anger is a natural human emotion. I don't believe anybody can walk around all day, every day, and never experience getting angry about some shit. But because I do it, I'm off my fucking meds. Shame on you people. As if I don't have enough to deal with in this life. The only difference is I can't fucking smoke pot and I can't drink alcohol because I've been there and I did that and I spent a lot of money smoking pot, drinking alcohol, and doing other shit to relieve the pain that I feel every day. I have 18 years clean. I have to learn how to manage all the bullshit that goes on in this world every fucking day without a drink of alcohol, without a smoke of pot, or any other drug because I spent years doing that shit and causing harm to myself. I prefer to do it the legal way. Go to my doctors, acknowledge the fact that I have a mental health disease, and take prescription medication for my mental health disease. But you have people in the world who rather self medicate. People with social anxiety who got to smoke pot just to go out and have a good time. I can go out and have a good time without freaking smoking pot or drinking alcohol. How about that? So, yes, I get angry when people say shit like that to me. I'm supposed to get angry. It's a natural response. People walking around judging, casting stones, and don't even know what a person goes through every day. I'm in my 50s. Half you people ain't even made it to be 50 yet. Then they be talking about, oh, somebody's jealous of them. Like, what do I have to be jealous about? I don't have to compete with a woman half my age. Been there, did that. Hopefully you make it to your 50s. How about that? I don't have to compete with none of y'all. You bitches need to compete with me because I'm a woman in my mid 50s. I look damn good. I look a mess now because, it's early. I haven't done anything to myself yet. But even without the freaking makeup, even without the fake hair, these are my real teeth. I'm in my 50s. I don't need to compete with no bitch younger than me. I don't care about your money, your reputation. I don't care about any of that. Because I'm going to tell you one thing. Mental health diseases do not discriminate. It doesn't care about your financial stability. It doesn't care about your reputation. It doesn't care about anything. And while I was more stable in my younger years before I was exposed to all the nonsense that goes on in this world. Like, I didn't start having signs and symptoms of my mental health disease till I was in my mid 20s. And even with a mental health disease, I have continued to educate myself, to work, to not have to go out on Social Security disability because of my mental health disease. I have never been arrested as an adult, spent time in jail, or a mental health institution. All these people running around judging, criticizing, talking, and don't even have a clue. Anyway, guys, that's my take on it. Advocating for mental health awareness, mental health wellness tied to education. I hope you guys got something out of this. I hope you guys will come back because I'm going to keep showing up here talking about managing life with a mental health disease. Be well.